Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and for today's episode, I have got a juicy topic for you. This is actually something that I have spoken about in my membership group with the women over there, but I haven't really spoken that much about it anywhere else. And when I'm trying to think about why I haven't done that, there isn't really a specific reason. I think it's just I keep forgetting. I just keep forgetting. But not today, alhamdulillah. So what we're going to talk about today is how our blessings, the things that we're asking Allah for, we're going to get it in the Dunya version of it. Like we're going to get the Dunya version of our blessing. And I know that's going to sound really weird, maybe if you haven't heard me speak about this before, or you just totally get it immediately. Either way, we're going to talk about it today because I do think this topic is super interesting. So let's go straight into it because I've got a couple of things that I want to get through in today's topic, and I'm kind of a little bit squished for time, so I'm kind of hoping to do it quickly. I apologize if I'm speaking too fast. And also, by the way, for those of you who are not native English speakers or not as confident in your English, there is in your, if you're listening on Spotify or on iTunes, you can actually go in and reset the speed. So if you think that I'm speaking too fast, you can slow down the sound so that I'll be speaking a little bit slower. And if you think I'm speaking too slow, you can up the speed. I do that for different I do that for different podcasts that I listen to. Some of them I'm like, girl, you speak way too slow for me. I like fast speak personally, but then there are other ones where I'm like, ooh, you're speaking even faster than I am. I need to slow you down. So that's just a quick little one. It's so much easier for you to decide how you want the speed of my speech to be than for me to try and speak different to what feels natural to me. So yeah, just to let you guys know. All right, so let's get straight into it. The first time I think I really spoke about this subject was, well, of course, in the membership, because that's the only time really that I've spoken about it. But it was because of one of the members speaking about how the thing she wanted had actually come, but it looked a little bit different. There was a little bit more work to it. And, you know, it made her sort of be like, oh, I don't know. I asked for it, but you know, I have it, but now I'm questioning it because it feels a little bit harder and stuff. And I had to sort of like remind her of the fact that, you know, the blessing is still in this dunya. The blessing is still a part of your trial and test in this dunya because we're still in the dunya. And I think it's such a relevant topic because I think it helps us to understand what we can expect of the blessings, and also if we get the blessing, or when we get the blessing, I should say, but when we get the blessing, how not to feel disappointed about it, or how not to feel overwhelmed by it, or whatever it might be. And I kind of, what it really is ultimately is expectation setting and adjusting our thoughts to what reality dictates, and reality within what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for us, of course. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it. So the first thing is that the thing that we're asking for can look a little bit different than how we expected it to look. Now, I've spoken at great lengths about this whole thing about releasing our expectations to the blessing itself, like how it's going to come, when it's going to come, how it's going to look, what avenue it's going to come in from, things like that, because all of that is for Allah, of course, to decide. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, we ask for the letter A and he'll give us the letter, I don't know, P. You know, that's not what it is. It means that we can't say if it's going to be an uppercase A, a lowercase a, if what font it's going to come in, but we will get the A. Do you know what I mean? That was my examples are so weird. I'm recognizing it, but like I'm just going to go with it because it's part of my brand at this point, I feel like. Okay, so we're still going to get the thing, but it's just, you know, it might look a little bit different, and that can be a really difficult thing for some of us to align ourselves with and come to term with and find peace in, because some of us have a difficult time letting go of our own expectation and setting aside our ego and what we think is good for us versus what Allah wants for us and what He knows is good for us. And that's the first place that the hiccup can occur. Because obviously, when we think about something that we want, we think about the thing that we want, the person that we'd like to marry, we think about the job that we would like to work in, the house we want to live in, the car we want to drive in, and we see it as like this thing is going to give me ultimate peace. Like, this is the one thing that will never make me complain. It's going to give me so much happiness and joy. Like, I would never complain about this thing, because that's the thing about dreams and fantasizing about stuff in the future, is that you're hopefully, I would assume, you're fantasizing and dreaming about better days and less pain, suffering, anxiety, stress, all of those things. So obviously that's going to carry on over to the things that you're asking for, right? But the reality is that you're living in dunya, and dunya is ultimately one big test, meaning that every aspect of dunya will also bring a test with it. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and we will test you by your children. Even children, they can literally come out of you, and you love them beyond yourself, but they will still test you. And you might have tried so hard to be a mum, and finally you got yourself a kid, and now you're like, why doesn't this child listen to me? Because He will also test us. Allah will also test us on the things that we love and hold dear to us, meaning our greatest desires as well. Sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's a car, sometimes it's a home, it's a job, it could be anything. So we have to understand that it can look a little bit different than what we expected. Now, it might not mean full ease and full flow all the time. It could also mean that you get a lot of that, but from time to time, the car might be stalling. It might be really expensive to keep the car. Maybe, I don't know, you live in an area where there's a lot of jealous people who keep keying the car. I don't know, any kind of things could happen. You keep getting a flat on the car. I don't know, think of anything could happen, and you're like, but why is all this happening? Because it's dunya. It's dunya, and it's okay. It's totally fine. It is the blessing within dunya. That is what it is. You have to put the dunya frame to your blessing, meaning that this thing is not going to create heaven on earth for you. It's just not going to do that, because you know why? We're not in heaven yet. And I say yet, inshallah. Sister, if you see me in heaven, please come say hi. Please come say hi. I can just, oh my God, I don't know, maybe I'm getting my period soon. I'm feeling all emotional at the thought of that. I'm like, I can feel the tears welling up inside me. I'm like, imagine. Oh my God, I can't even get that thought out of my head right now. SubhanAllah. Okay, anyway. So put this frame of dunya around your blessing. That doesn't mean sour your desires or, throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say in Australia, just give up on the whole thing because, if it can't be perfect, I don't want any of it. No. Don't do that. It just means be realistic. Be optimistic, but be realistic, of course, because we are in the dunya, and Allah has already told us that He will test us with the things that we love and desire the most, that the things that we hold dearest to our hearts. And if that is not a person, it can be a house. It can also be a house and a person. It could also be a car and a person. It could also be a car and a house. It could be anything, right? But be realistic about it, because it might look a little bit different once the blessing comes in. And I don't want you to scoff at it just because it is not perfection yet. That'll come in heaven. Okay, the next thing is that it might require you to sacrifice some things a little bit. Some things, not all things, but some blessings might require you to sacrifice a friendship, because that specific person in your life is holding you back. They're not the ones that will support you. They're not the ones that will say to you, hey, it's time for dhuhr, let's go pray. They're maybe the kind of person who'll be like, you can just, we'll pray tomorrow, or we can pray later, or whatever. Or they're not the person who wants to sit down and speak to you about Allah. They're not the person who will sit down with you and plan and prepare your finances so you can become debt free and get, reach that desired desire, if that's one of your desires, to build that business that you dream of. They, in fact, if anything, they keep distracting you with other things. Maybe you're asking Allah for a marriage, and this person has a tendency to be quite sour around men because maybe this person had some experiences in the past that, created a behavior within them that's not necessarily telling men to come hither. So, maybe that could be a sacrifice. That is sometimes a sacrifice. And Allah will do that. He will 100% introduce people to your life and sometimes take them away again. And that can be a sacrifice that you might have to kind of be cool with and be like, oh, I kind of imagine that this person would be there with me as I'm receiving this blessing, but I guess not, So again, release those expectations. A sacrifice could also be other things. It doesn't have to be a person. A sacrifice could also be, when I say sacrifice, it sounds like, oh, you have to sacrifice something to God. That's not what I mean. I mean, as in like give up something. It could be the house you're living in. Maybe if you're asking for more travel, then Allah is saying, I will give you more travel, but you can't have this house at the same time because it's costing you too much and you're not going to be able to travel while maintaining the costs of the house. So the sacrifice could be to sell the house or rent it out and get a smaller place or more affordable place. It could be, oh, I will let you have the house, but it means that you have to take on a job that you don't want. So the sacrifice could be that your job, like that you do a job that might not be as fulfilling, but then you'll have the time to travel more and more finances to travel. Do you see what I mean? So sacrifice isn't necessarily something like, oh, it's so big and great and I have to sacrifice and smear the blood all over. No. Astaghfirullah. It just means sometimes we have to give certain things up, or we have to adjust our expectations of it just coming without us having to do any work for it as well. Because we always have to do a little bit of work for it. Because, I'll get to that after. Inshallah. Okay, next way that the blessing is sort of like dunya style, or like that it is measured to dunya, is that it will come with more work. So, you've been dreaming about a relationship, a happy, healthy relationship. Okay, Allah will send you this beautiful man into your life and you'll get married, but you have to do a lot of work to maintain a happy, healthy relationship, right? That means you might have to do counseling. You might have to prioritize date nights. You might have to, compromise on housework, on finances, on, I don't know, who sleeps on the left side versus who sleeps on the right side. Anything. The wallpaper in the kitchen. I don't know. There's so many things that can come with more work. So even though the blessing will come, sometimes we can be a little bit like, oh, but why do I have to work for it now? Like, why does it feel like I have to do even more than I did before? Like, why, if you want a business or you want to make a lot of money, for instance, you could be like, oh, on my own business. Oh, but then I also have to do accounting. I have to manage my taxes. Yeah, that's the work that comes with it, So sometimes we can over-romanticize a little bit in our brain. Now, I love being a romantic. I really do. And I love being delusional. But the delusion has to have a smidge of reality in there. A smidge of that in there. And then a heck load of willingness to surrender my expectations of what it's going to be. That is what it has to be. You can be as delusional and romanticize as much as you want, but you have to be willing to let go of your own expectations and have a sense of reality in there. If you're asking Allah for financial freedom, be aware that He will probably ask you to do work for it, one way or another. Or lose a person who's very wealthy, but that you might like in your life, and then you'll inherit a lot of money. Or that you will get very, very sick or hurt or injured or something and get a large compensation for it. Like, I hope it doesn't happen. But, if you don't want to work for it, then think about how, you're not going to walk out on the street and find £1 million. And if you do, probably don't touch it. Call the police. I don't think I have to tell you that, but like, just in case I did have to, now you know. And also call me. I'll take a little bundle. We can just say, oh, it was like, 900,000 rather than 1 million. I don't know. But yeah, so it'll come with work. There's work in maintaining it. There's work in having it to begin with. There's work to keeping it good. There's work in keeping the blessing good. Just like our deen, we can't just say our shahada once and walk away and think that our deen will remain as strong as the first time we were like, wow, I really believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, what makes us really stay in love with Allah is the dedication to continuously come to prayer, come to dhikr, come to dua, come to Allah. That is what keeps that so blessed and beautiful. The moment we keep sort of like, oh, it'll maintain itself, that's the moment it'll start to crumble and falter. So no, you have to work on it. You have to absolutely work on it. And that's the way of dunya blessings. You have to continuously do more work. And sometimes it'll be more work than you're used to. Sometimes it won't, but sometimes it will. So be aware. Okay, last one that I have here, a little note that I have is that sometimes it can have, the blessing can have a mental or a physical or an emotional toll on us, meaning that it can sometimes cost us, like more physical, like our physical self sometimes, in that we need to be more active. We need to be more aware of, being fit. I don't know, if we have children, for instance, and we want to play with the kids, that can have a physical toll, not just the pregnancy aspect, which, by the way, yes, the pregnancy aspect, a big one, of course, but also just being a new parent, especially when they start crawling around and walking around, those little toddler feet, you're going to have to run around. You're going to be really tired. So the physical toll, probably not sleeping very much at night because of the baby, so that might have a physical toll. And you'll be like, no, I asked so long for Allah to grant me this baby and give me a baby, and now I've got it and I'm just so tired and exhausted. Yeah, that's dunya. That's the blessing in the dunya. And that's okay. And that's just the reality of it. And alhamdulillah for that. The emotional toll could be, I asked for the kid, we're going to keep running with the kid because it's such a good one for this one specifically. The emotional toll can be, when they start growing up and they start separating a little bit from you and they're like, oh, mom, you're not my best friend. Emily from school is. And you're like, oh, I thought we were best friends. That could be an emotional toll. An emotional toll is seeing them maybe not have as many friends as you maybe would like for them to have. Or when they get sad, you'll feel it and you might get sad. There's an emotional toll with being a parent. Excuse me. That's probably my mum messaging me. That's the only person who messages me. Alhamdulillah. A mental toll. The mental toll specifically in their teenagehood. But my sister is a mum and my brother is a mum. A dad. I'm so sorry. My sister is a mum and my brother is a dad. Alhamdulillah. And I've also seen, none of their kids are over, I think the oldest is 12 now. And I've seen how those little ones can also have a huge mental toll on parents, with their antics, with them developing like their characters and stuff, and just generally not listening all the time. And so, the things that you're asking for can also have a mental toll on you, can be really exhausting. You can have a lot of more anxiety. I don't know, like, you're like, oh, did I leave the scissors out on the kitchen table or did I not? I can't relax now. I have to go and check to make sure that none of the kids get to it, But again, just to say that it'll be dunya measured, the blessing. And the dunya means that even the things that Allah will bless us with will have a cost, so to speak. It'll be measured to fit within this dunya, and the dunya is the test, meaning that even the things that you're asking Allah to bless you with will be a part of your test, and that can look different depending on who you are, where you live, what you're asking for, so on and so forth. But it's so important to understand and acknowledge this, because I have seen one too many times at this point a few of you be like, I asked Allah for this, but now I'm too tired, or it's so much work, I don't know if I can keep up, or I don't know, whatever it might be. And I kind of have to come in and remind you, hey, that's that's still the blessing. That's what you ask for. Just stay realistic, stay dunya focused with the blessing. If it comes in this dunya, then make sure that it is a dunya focused blessing, meaning you have to look at it from the perspective of dunya. Allah still gave you the thing, but you're still in dunya, meaning you are still a part of the test. You're still taking part in it, and Allah is still judging how you will take care of this blessing that He's giving you. This still part of it. Are you going to be patient with it? Are you going to take care of it? Are you going to walk away from it when it gets too hard? So on and so forth. So the thing that I want to end this episode on is, because I understand that it can sound all very, very negative, almost like, oh, why should I ask for the thing if there's more work in it or whatever? You should ask for the thing because you might also get it in the akhirah. And also it's a part of the test. So of course you should ask for the thing because it's still the thing that you want. And if Allah gives it to you, it's because He wants you to have it. But also because it can help you grow in a lot of ways, right? It can help you grow in a lot of ways. But also to understand that in the akhirah, we might also have these things, and it won't be with any of the limitations that we have in this dunya. Meaning you can have the kids in akhirah, or I don't know if you can have kids in akhirah, but probably not. But you know what I mean? You could probably, if you ask Allah, you can have anything you want, as far as I'm aware. So if you say to Allah, I want to look after children, I'm sure He'll send you some children that you can look after up there. And they'll be beautiful children. And there's no mental, physical or emotional toll from them because they're heavenly little children, right? You can be stupid wealthy and you don't have to pay tax or think about bills or whatever. You can just enjoy your money. You can have the house without worrying about mortgages or upkeep. You have the fulfilled, the perfect version of the thing you're asking for is in the akhirah, right? That's where you get that perfect part of the blessing. But as long as we're in the dunya, we have to remain focused on the fact that Allah will give us the blessing according to dunya, because that is the whole point of it, right? And I think it's just important for us to keep that in mind so that we don't end up being disappointed because, are you okay? You want some attention? Oh, sorry, I lost my frame of thought there. I can't remember what I was saying now. I think it was something to the effect of, keep the dunya focus on it so that you won't get disappointed. Yes, that probably was it. And then look forward to, managing your life in such a way in this dunya that is pleasing to Allah, inshallah, so that you can have all of the same things and more in the akhirah without any of the limitations on it. All right. Anyway, I'm going to end the episode here. I hope that it was beneficial to you. I hope that what was in this episode could maybe put some things into perspective for you with some of the things that you might have received lately from Allah. And there's lots of things you've received. Sometimes we just need to be aware of it and start looking at them a little bit differently and understand this is still a blessing. This is still khair. Allah still gave me this. This is still a part of my rizq. And how I deal with it, that's the test around it, and it's just a dunya blessing, and that's okay. That's still a beautiful thing because it means Allah is looking at me and being like, I want to give you things. I want to bless you with things in this dunya. But it's up to me to look at those things and be like, how can I make Allah proud with the things that He's giving me and make sure that I'm taking care of it so that in the akhirah He will continue to look after me as well. All right, my darlings, thank you so much for listening to another episode. As always, please don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It does help out the algorithm or whatever it is on those podcast systems. It does help them push it out to more people that might be interested in this podcast as well. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next episode, inshallah. But until then, please don't forget to live in love.